Hi, Richard. Welcome back to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about your top 30 wide receiver rankings for week 2. You ready?
I'm ready.
Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
Fantasy Goodfellas. All right, before we get started on this week's rankings, let's just review how you did in week 1.
Well, if you take out Odell Beckham Jr., who we had at 30, who didn't play, of the remaining 29 wide receivers in our top 30, we hit on 18 of them. So it was a good week, not spectacular, but solid.
All right, before we get started in this week's rankings, I just want to remind everybody how we're doing it. Richard's going to give a wide receiver ranking, then I'm going to challenge him why he chose that receiver for that ranking. All right? So, Richard, take it over.
And number 1, we have Tyreek Hill, who will be at Baltimore.
Is there any week that we're not going to have Tyreek Hill in the top 5?
Probably not. He's probably going to be in our top 5 all season, as long as he stays healthy, as long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy. And number 2, Davante Adams, who will be home against the Detroit Lions.
Nobody saw Green Bay's stinker in week 1. I guess you're thinking that's not going to happen in week 2.
I expect the Packers to do much, much better. Aaron Rodgers is going to go off, and Davante Adams is going to catch a lot of passes, a lot of touchdowns. And number 3, DeAndre Hopkins, home against Minnesota.
What can I say about Hawkins? He's scoring now. Fantasy owners must be jumping up and down.
Yeah, but he's consistent. I mean, we expected big things from DeAndre Hopkins. He was a top 5 receiver pick. He's given us top 5 results. He is consistent. And number 4, DK Metcalf will be home against Tennessee.
I challenged you in week 1 saying who's the real number 1, and you chose Metcalf, but Lockett had a better game. What's going on there?
Those are 2 good receivers. I expect Metcalf to score the touchdowns this week, though. And number 5, Justin Jefferson at Arizona.
Justin Jefferson had an okay game, didn't score. You think that's changing?
It will. I think they're going to have to, Kyler Murray's going to put up numbers. Kirk Cousins is going to have to fight back. And I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a big game. And number 6, Stefon Diggs at Miami.
I didn't like what I seen from Buffalo in week 1. I know they're a good offense, but they're going against a good defense in Miami. You think fantasy owners should be worried about Diggs?
Not at all. Josh Allen's a good quarterback. Diggs is a tremendous receiver. He's up against a tough defense. That's why we knocked him down to number 6. And number 7, Amari Cooper at the LA Chargers.
Now, I said it last week that Amari Cooper had something to play for, and boy, did he show up. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah. I mean, he might have a chip on his shoulder, but here's the thing about Amari Cooper. I mean, we know that Dak looks great and he's going to pass, and we have him in our top 10. But I think it's just a matter of time before he starts limping around from some ailment. That's why long-term, I prefer CeeDee Lamb. And number 8, we have Chris Godwin, home against Atlanta.
Chris Godwin led the Buccaneers in targets. You think that trend's going to continue?
Yes. I think Chris Godwin might turn out to be the number 1 guy in Tampa Bay. There's gonna be passes for everybody there, but I like Godwin a lot, and that's why he's my highest ranked Bucs receiver. And number 9, Calvin Ridley at Tampa Bay.
Calvin Ridley is a dynamic receiver, but Matt Ryan didn't look too good. You think that's gonna hurt Ridley's stock?
It definitely will. If Ryan has issues, it's going to hurt Ridley's stock. And the other question is, can Ridley be a number 1? Can he be a true number 1 without Julio Jones by his side? Those questions still need to be answered. They did not look good in week 1. I expect a rebound in week 2. And number 10, Cooper Kupp at Indianapolis.
Wow, I think Kupp is going to benefit from having Stafford. How high is his ceiling?
We'll see. We'll see if this just was a 1-week thing, but it looks like Cooper Kupp has great chemistry with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was definitely looking his way. We'll see what happens in week 2, but if the trend continues, Cooper Kupp is definitely going to be entrenched in our top 10. And number 11, CeeDee Lamb at the LA Chargers.
You said CeeDee Lamb was going to be the number 1 receiver in Dallas. It didn't happen in week 1. Does it happen in week 2?
It could happen in week 2. But like I said before, it will happen once Amari Cooper starts having those ankle, knee, all the ailments he plays throughout every season. They're coming. And number 12, Tyler Lockett, home against Tennessee.
Tyler Lockett did good with only 5 targets. Do you think he deserves more targets?
It's just like I said, they're not going to pass as much this year. But Russell Wilson he knows how to find receivers open. He makes things happen. Lockett will benefit. And Lockett, like last year, will score touchdowns, but his yardage isn't going to be exceptional. It's just going to be around that 1,000-yard mark. And number 13, Keenan Allen, home against the Cowboys.
Allen has a good matchup in Dallas because they're not very good. But how high can he go if they have a great game?
Keenan Allen can do exceptional. We'll see if he's worthy of a top 10 ranking based on how he does this week. But this is the week to go off. And number 14, A.J. Brown at Seattle.
A.J. Brown didn't have a good game. Do you think that continues for Tennessee?
A.J. Brown is big. He's fast. I think he's going to do good no matter what. And I think Tannehill's numbers can only be better this week. And number 15, we have Antonio Brown, home against Atlanta.
Well, fantasy owners must be happy in week 1 with Antonio Brown because he scored, he got some yards. He's going against Atlanta. Man, they must be excited again this week.
Yeah, that's definitely a good defense to play against. But I don't know if Atlanta can keep up with Tampa Bay. So we may see more of Fournette and Ronald Jones. And number 16, Robert Woods at Indianapolis.
Robert Woods is benefiting for having Matt Stafford at quarterback. But the only problem is you got 2 wide receivers in your top 20. And they're going against a good defense in Indianapolis. I guess you see it differently.
Yeah, and we got to see what Seattle did last week against them. You know, Seattle was able to find the end zone through pass. I think this week Matt Stafford will be able to do the same. And the question here is he going to continue going to Kupp? Is Kupp truly going to be the number 1, or is it going to be, Woods one week, Kupp the next? That's what we have to see. But Stafford will throw touchdown passes this week. And number 17, Adam Thielen at Arizona.
All right, for the second week in a row, you got Justin Jefferson higher than Thielen. I guess you're just not high on Thielen.
I know, I am. I mean, Thielen's in our top 20. Thielen is just not nearly the athlete that is Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is a big-time playmaker, whereas Adam Thielen is a good receiver. He's good, right? He's a good wide receiver, too. So that's why I have him ranked lower. But, hey, I still expect top 20 numbers. And number 18, JaMarr Chase at Chicago.
JaMarr Chase had a game that I think every fantasy owner wanted him to have, and he had it. Does that continue throughout the season, though?
We will see, but the signs were good. Everybody said he was a gamer. Everybody said, hey, just wait till the regular season. All these training camp woes and exhibition woes, they're all just going to go away. This guy's a gamer, and they were right. He looked good. And look, there's a reason why he was the number 1 receiver in his class. So I expect big things from JaMarr Chase, and he has chemistry with Joe Burrow. And number 19, Devonta Smith, home against San Francisco.
We talked about him in week 1 being a smallish receiver, but that didn't seem to bother him in week 1. He got some yards, but got in the end zone. I think he's going to be all right.
I think so. I think now we have more reason to be positive about him. Jalen Hurts looked great again. And Devonta Smith knows how to get open, man. The guy is always open. Like Jaylen Waddle in Miami, you can make the same argument. They know how to get open, these Alabama guys. So I really like Devonta Smith. At number 20, we have Terry McLaurin home against the New York Giants.
Last year, Terry McLaurin did great despite the quarterback. Looks like he's going to have to do it again this year.
Yeah, that, or maybe, Taylor Heineke's better than everybody thinks. He's definitely going to miss Fitzpatrick. And number 21, Julio Jones at Seattle.
Well, Mike Vrabel ripped into him for that stupid penalty he had. Is that going to cause problems for Julio Jones throughout the season?
I hope not. I'm expecting him to use this as motivation. He didn't have a good week 1. People are talking about it over there. I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. At number 22, we have Diontae Johnson home against the Raiders.
We know Diontae Johnson's a good receiver, but Ben Roethlisberger is a big question mark this year. So how does that play in?
He got a lot of targets. So Big Ben is definitely looking his way. We'll see. I have him ranked up here because I think he is Pittsburgh's number 1 wide receiver, but there are question marks, definitely question marks with Big Ben. And number 23, Mike Evans, home against Atlanta.
Mike Evans, to me, looked like he was a little hurt, but there's just too many targets on Tampa Bay. Do you think that's going to affect him this season?
Well, he's never had a season where he didn't eclipse 1,000 receiving yards, and we know he's going to catch touchdown passes, which makes him pretty consistent. But after week 1, you have to worry a little bit. Definitely Godwin got a lot of targets. We know Antonio Brown's getting targets, and Gronk in the red zone. So if Gronk's going to be the preferred red zone guy, where does that leave Mike Evans? So that's the reason why I got him at 22. I still think he'll get some targets and a touchdown. At 24, Allen Robinson, home against the Bengals.
I don't know what to say about Allen Robinson. As long as Andy Dalton's there, it's not going to go well. Just put Justin Fields in, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point here? The Bears, this is not a playoff team. So why are you playing Andy Dalton? He's not helping the team anyway. Play your rookie, get him some experience. Allen Robinson's a fantastic receiver. Andy Dalton, bad quarterback. And number 25, Mike Williams will be home against the Dallas Cowboys.
This week's shootout. You're calling this a shootout, so I think you're expecting big things from Mike Williams, right?
Yes, I'm expecting both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to put up numbers, Justin Herbert to put up numbers, as well as all the Cowboys. This is going to be a fun game to watch, and Mike Williams could be entrenched in our top 30. And number 26, Jaylen Waddle, home against the Buffalo Bills.
On 6 targets, he got 61 yards. Do you think they should just go to him more?
I think they will. I think he's going to catch a deep touchdown. And that's the thing with Jaylen Waddle. Every single game, there will be an opportunity for him to have a long touchdown. Number 27, Deebo Samuel at Philadelphia.
He had a great week 1, although there might be a little quarterback controversy. Do you think that plays into his numbers this week?
Actually, if Trey Lance gets into the game more, that'll benefit Deebo Samuel. Obviously, he's now San Francisco's #1 guy. And number 28, Brandon Cooks at Cleveland.
Wow, 132 receiving yards. Does this continue?
Brandon Cooks is a playmaker, and he is Houston's #1 receiver. So it all depends on Tyrod Taylor. But I do expect to see Brandon Cooks in my top 30, a lot. And number 29, T. Higgins at Chicago.
Is T. Higgins the #1 receiver in Cincinnati, or did Chase pass him already after week 1?
I think you're correct. I think it's going to be a JaMarr Chase show in Cincinnati. That's going to bump down T. Higgins. And number 30, DJ Moore. He'll be home against New Orleans.
It seems like Sam Darnold looked for DJ Moore, so it didn't affect DJ Moore's numbers. Is that what we're going to expect throughout the season?
Yeah, DJ Moore is a very talented receiver. You should expect a lot of yards from him, and we'll see if the touchdowns come. He has Robbie Anderson to help him, from double teams. I think he's going to have a decent season.
All right, thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 30 wide receiver rankings for week 2.
My pleasure. Like, subscribe, watch us here every week, because we will be here every week.
Fantasy Goodfellas.
Rolling on the field.
Fantasy Goodfellas.